Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money Channel. Here's one from Jury and Timmer, taking a look at general markets here. New bull or just bear market rally that won't last. Take a look at this chart here, guys. I do not expect the October lows to be taken out, but I also do not yet see the ingredients for a new cyclical bull market. So he's a little skeptical either way. Essentially what that translates to is that we will be moving sideways for the foreseeable future. What he's outlining here is the 1946 price compared to the 2022 price. And later on in the tweet thread, he did say that he did not label this correctly. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, right down here, top panel is the S&P 500 and the bottom panel is the breadth. So if we just go back up here, you guys can see that is matching quite closely. He goes on to say, the market can and will look through an earnings decline, but only if the liquidity tide is turning more favorable. That is not yet happening now that the Fed pivot is being pushed out. In that sense, the 1946 to 1949 analog remains compelling, even though the earnings and valuation parallels have diverged. It suggests that the current rally has gone as far as it can go for now, and that a period of ongoing base building lies ahead. Essentially what that translates to is just chopping sideways for the foreseeable and not actually moving further down. If I bring up the S&P 500 up here, I mean, we are under the assumption that this thing is going to collapse. Perhaps at such a degree that could be cataclysmic. Now, the S&P has not actually retraced to the 0.702. We have seen it retrace to the 0.618, and then base touch other levels as well, like the 0.236 down in around here. It's come back up to the 0.5. But what it is creating here is what is looking like a base, at least according to Timmer. Of course, these market conditions are going to affect what happens in the crypto space. And, this is why we talk about this kind of stuff. Another stat here, Ian Carr posted this. According to the FDIC, now for those of you guys who do not know what that is, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, just giving you guys some quick background here. The FDIC is one of two agencies that supplies deposit insurance to depositors in American depository institutions, the other being the National Credit Union Administration, which regulates and insures credit unions. So these guys insure your money in the bank. All banks need to be FDIC insured. The FDIC is a United States government corporation supplying deposit insurance to depositors in American commercial banks and savings banks. The FDIC was created in 1933 during the Great Depression to restore trust in the American banking system. So these guys have come out and said 52 million Americans have purchased digital assets. That accounts for 16% of Americans. The FDIC is noticing, the FDIC is watching this, okay? So they're obviously seeing the tides are turning. And, if I were to extrapolate, this is also probably why government needs to get a solid grasp on how stable coins are also going to be regulated. And the reason I say that is because if money leaves the bank and, the people who have that money decide, I want to hedge my bets and I do not want to have it in fiat dollars. However, in the meantime, maybe I'll put it into a stablecoin like Tether or USDC or Binance's stablecoin BUSD. Well, that does not bode well for banks because they do not have that capital to draw from. And that's how they profit, right? They take your money, they give you an account and on your screen it says, oh, here's the number of how much money I have. But really what they're doing in the background is using your money for other purposes. So if they do not have your money and you've taken your money and put it into stable coins, maybe waiting for the market to go down, poised to invest in cryptocurrencies, just using this as one example, well, that does not bode well for banks. So the FDIC, they're noticing this. 16% of Americans, 136 banks are working on digital asset projects. So this is also why they're realizing we got to work on these digital asset projects to kind of get some of this business. We do not want all these exchanges to take the business away from the traditional banking sector. The FDIC was informed of Voyager's misrepresentation of FDIC insurance in February of 2021, 17 months before the FDIC and Federal Reserve took action. Kind of insane. And so you guys can see there are some statistics here. If you care to read further, I've just given you the highlighted points, but I will link this in the description. There's also the official link here that Ian Carr did post in this tweet. So you guys can go there too if you want to read the full thing. It's interesting to note where the eyes are at in terms of the crypto industry. We're also hearing news of this. Positive news, guys, from Michael Branch. This bull cycle is going to be epic. According to the chief investment officer of crypto fund Bitwise Asset Management, this is Matt Hoogan, This is what he expressed on a recent YouTube podcast. According to Hugin, the next bull cycle for crypto markets will be unprecedented. Here's a quote: "The bull market cycle, this 4-year cycle, is going to be the biggest cycle yet in terms of user adoption, in terms of aggregate market cap increase, in terms of almost all of the things that we care about." So, you know, whereas the Bitcoin increases, the Bitcoin price increases have diminished over time, maybe, just maybe, we could see something different. I mean, Bitcoin bull runs in the past here. Let me throw this on the monthly just to show you guys. Bitcoin bull runs in the past, and I'm not talking about all cryptocurrencies, but Bitcoin in particular. The gains have become less and less over the years, as you guys probably know here. Like, for example, this bull run was a higher percentage than this one, and this one was a higher percentage than this one, so on and so forth. So, what we are assuming is that we are going to see a curvature eventually, and well, this is not exactly accurate. It'll probably be more like this. A curvature goes up a little higher, but eventually evens out by we don't know what year, where we start to see Bitcoin stabilize, and the gains from bull markets are going to be less and less. That's the general observation that we've noticed. However, this might be different because of all these factors. We have increased interest, we have increased adoption, we have institutions coming in. I've said this before, institutions coming in, aggregate market cap increase, all these things that he's noticing here. It goes on to say it's not going to be perfectly up and to the right. Of course, there'll be bumps. We can talk about regulation, and I'm actually quite bullish on regulation. But you can see what's happening, and you can feel it if you're a developer in the community. So, to tap into the devs, they're really, really busy. They like working in bear markets because, there's no distractions about price and coins and all that stuff. But that's a good indication, I think, of where the next market is going. The level of excitement is higher than it's ever been in my experience in the crypto market. And that's why we're up 50% this year. So he's talking about his company there, Bitwise. And that's why I think we'll close higher by the end of the year. I think 2024 and 2025 are going to be even better. According to the Bitwise Asset Management CIO, every crypto cycle is driven by a technological breakthrough, and the upcoming one will be no exception. So he goes on to say, those cycles happen for a reason, which is there's a major technological breakthrough that drives a new bull market. The reason I'm so excited is because I know that the technological breakthrough is that's going to drive this next bull market, and it's bigger than NFTs, DeFi, and stablecoins, and I would argue bigger from a real-world application as well than even the first start of Bitcoin and Ethereum. So we're seeing a lot of development, guys. We're seeing this industry, this market, this sector mature as the days, the weeks, the months go on. So a bigger bull market this year, and this is likely going to be the year for the utility coins. I think, in this bull market, I think we're going to start to see real-world utility, or at least the coins that provide real-world utility, move the highest, I would hope, because, we're now in a more mature market. Maybe meme coins will be a thing of the past and long forgotten, hopefully. And unfortunately, I think this might also affect who is going to be investing in cryptocurrency. We won't see gamblers and degenerates as much, I don't think, because of the current economic conditions, not just in the United States, but everywhere. I saw this from DJ Peter Vass, okay? And this guy is David Straight. He's part of the Sovereign Citizens movement, and he does talks. Here's one that was caught by a user here over Zoom. This is from Instagram, from West Coast Wizard on Instagram. Listen to what he had to say here.
President Biden wrote an executive order that says anyone with more than $100,000 in the bank or in any deposit box, any amount in any deposit box, if the bank should get into trouble, that they can take that money. Well, in September, when things started to go badly for the banking world, they lowered that to $50,000. So if you got more than $50,000 in any one account in any bank, they can take it. It's their money, not yours. I want you to know that. Be very wary. Get your money out of the banks. Don't have anything more in there than bare minimum operating capital. What you can afford. It's like gambling. Don't go to the casino with more than you can afford to lose. Okay? That's right.
All right, I'm going to stop it there. I think that point has been hit home quite hard at this point. So along the same lines of what I've been saying, too, for the last several months now, we've been seeing, the market, the economy go in the crapper. And, I've been warning you guys, invest in precious metals, invest in cryptocurrency, buy real estate if you can afford it. Because the current fiat system, this is all part of the Great Reset. The current fiat system is going in the gutter. Only keep as much money as you need to in the bank for operating capital, to pay your bills monthly. And this is what I've been doing over the last several months. Not keeping large balances in the bank, diversifying and purchasing other items. Of course, cryptocurrency stored on a cold wallet storage solution is also part of my strategy too, right? Because if you can take the money, and again, going back to that stable coin argument, even if you were to take the money out of the bank, put it into a stable coin, and then put that stable coin in a cold wallet storage solution, that is safer than keeping your money in the bank. And Ledger has been coming out with a lot of great products recently. This is not a paid sponsorship by any means, but this is the product I use personally. The Ledger Stacks is even coming soon. So guys, I do have an affiliate link in the description. You can use it if you want. You don't have to use it. I don't like pressuring people to use my affiliate, but it probably isn't a bad idea if you have not already to get your crypto or your stable coins for that matter on a cold wallet storage solution like the Ledger Nano or something similar. So all part and parcel to where, the economy is going, because they are preparing for a great reset and a new foundation for the financial system. Of course, us XRP holders and those who hold other coins that solve problems are going to benefit from this, though, down the road. Now, this one from Mr. Man here on Twitter, and this has to do with R3. Now, remember, R3 can settle in many different cryptocurrencies, XRP being one of them. R3 states that it's time to make money more fluid for cross-border payments and remove the lumps. Listen to this.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm conscious. I'm looking at the stream here, and there are loads of questions coming in. So I'm going to ask you one last one from me, Ricardo, and then we're going to go to the stream's questions. So quick fire one. Over the next few years, what do you think like the top 3 sort of transformational use cases for blockchain will be?
Ooh, okay. Well, it'll have to be in capital markets, payments, and identity. So, let me just give you a quick view of what that means. So in capital markets, the continued digitization of all assets and asset classes, I think is really exciting. So, the digitization of property and cars and what have you, and then the ability to trade those things in primary, secondary, and even tertiary marketplaces. I think that's going to be cool. Money. So the movement of money moving from lumpy to liquid. So, today money is very lumpy, right? You get paid every month or every couple of weeks. Why don't you get paid every second?
Right.
And we move money cross-border, but we don't send emails cross-border. Of course, governance and legislation is different on money versus data, but still, I think that certainly will see a shift of money being more fluid. And then on identity, if we consider what's happening with Web3, the promise of bring your identity to the internet and the identity is yours, sovereign identity is something that I think we still need to solve. We've been talking about it for a very long time, but hopefully now is the time to get it right.
So that was Ricardo Correa of R3, and he was being interviewed here by somebody, head of innovation or whatever at Swift, discussing where the world is going. Now, R3 is a settlement solution. He talks a little bit about cross-border payments, of course, removing the lumps from money, and obviously that's where XRP and XLM, for example, really fit in and really can thrive. Also talks about Web3 and sovereign identity. So, this is kind of a scary concept, the concept that you will eventually need some sort of login credentials to even get the internet. So it would remove anonymity, which I know will not be great, but this is the way they're going. And the first thing he talked about too was tokenization. So, moving value and tokenized assets, real estate, cars, anything of value over the blockchain. So, we're seeing many different verticals here and, many different projects, XRP, XLM, XDC here, as Mr. Mann points out, and XFIN. Stellar, Ripple, all these projects are going to be instrumental in improving the IoT or the Internet of Things. So an interesting update here. This is, just a prediction from one of the guys over there at R3. Wanted to thank Mr. Mann here for pointing that out. The Ripple lawsuit's also going to have an impact on where we see tokenization and, rules with regards to cryptocurrency adoption in the US. But Michael Birnbaum here, he's a partner at Morrison & Forrester. He says that despite, large profile lawsuits like the LBRY and the Ripple case, even considering those outcomes, and he's assuming we're going to see a Ripple outcome soon, he's saying, the government, the SEC is still going to go after a large portion of the crypto industry.
And so the two cases I'd focus on in that regard, because they spill over in so many different ways, are the recently decided LBRY case and the maybe soon to be decided Ripple case. They're related in the sense that we're still asking what's a security. I wouldn't overplay one being relevant to the other. I think the judge took a very fact-specific approach in LBRY, and I think, frankly, the judge will take a fact-specific case in Ripple, because I think that's what the SEC is asking everybody to do and saying, we're going to look at your specific facts. Other than maybe Bitcoin, there aren't a lot of specific factual circumstances that have yet publicly passed the SEC test. But I think each of these cases does provide us with clues of maybe where we're going to land on more clarity of where the public can say, here are some indicia of what ultimately will pass muster. In LBRY, you saw, and this helps us advise clients on the front end, the judge took a very close look at what the company was saying early on in describing its own investment. And I think that's going to happen in any case. That's not going to be the end, but you're going to have trouble walking back comments about something looking like an investment contract if you later want to prove it's not an investment contract. In LBRY, we also had the notice argument that the public wasn't on notice of really what was a security. We have a similar argument in Ripple. I think we have different facts and certainly a different factual record there. And maybe if the judge decides on that ground, it may have I need to find a better word for ripple effect there, but some spillover effect. But I don't think a judge coming out in Ripple and deciding one way or the other is going to signal to everybody the fight is over. I don't imagine you, David, are going to say, never mind, we're not going after any tokens anymore. And I don't think the other side is, the defense bar is going to take the opposite position. But I do think that how LBRY was decided and how Ripple will be decided will continue to educate us on how we can approach the SEC on what factors, what specific facts get us a little bit closer or further away from what's an investment contract.
That actually sounds pretty positive to me. We get the verdict for LBRY, and we will likely get a verdict for Ripple soon. And that will actually help educate Congress and maybe others to ask more questions about regulatory clarity. So, it's not like regulatory clarity is going to happen, poof, for the entire crypto industry all at once. But it will bring us one step closer. The benefit for XRP holders and probably by extension XLM holders is that once we get a verdict for Ripple and XRP, more money will flow into that particular cryptocurrency, whereas, all the meme coins and all the ones that launched ICOs at the beginning, well, I think investors are going to get really scared, take their money out of those coins, and, this could be that pivotal moment where, a lot of these coins will go to zero, as was previously predicted. So an interesting insight here, this is going to happen slowly. Ripple, the SEC will be a landmark case, but maybe not as landmark as we think. The positive news, though, it will keep the dialogue rolling. It will keep giving us insight onto what is a security, what is not a security, and it will probably give enough clarity to deem a whole whack of cryptocurrency securities, whereas many other types of cryptocurrencies will not be deemed securities. So an interesting clip here, interesting insight from Michael Birnbaum. Wanted to thank Digital Asset Buy for posting that. And yes, Ripple partners are continuing to build. Recently announced Ripple partner Choice International, this is a UK company, is a company that supports money transfer businesses, especially with de-risk nations requiring tight AML and KYC in place, where liquidity is difficult. So are they using ODL? How are they using ODL? This coming from the Wrath of Kahneman here. And he just kind of gives some insight here on his thoughts on this project. The main company offers all manners of services, including cards and white-labeled mobile apps. Let's not forget, Ripple and XRP will likely be white-labeled in a lot of these instances where, the end user won't even know that they're using Ripple and XRP in the background. Choice International also has a Forex division, which seems like the most obvious ODL implementation. What is notable about their Forex business is that they only facilitate transactions for tangible goods, B2B. There is an invoice for every transaction. Citing correspondent banking problems, especially de-risked banks, they build a money matching system that locates flow in opposite direction of desired transaction to balance and make it possible. In principle, it sounds like ODL. Is it, or is it just something ODL fits in? So we'll have to wait for official confirmation, but the ODL use by such a tightly regulated business that prides itself on compliance and sticky corridors is a testament to ODL's use. Ironic, given the United States case, the US case. So, we have this happening in the UK, for example, ODL being utilized through this secondary partnership. Perhaps, it only makes sense. And the fact is, these guys are very, they deal with KYC, AML. So these guys are very, or would be very strict, you would think, with regards to these compliance issues. So an interesting little case study here from the Wrath of Kahneman. I want to thank him for posting that. The SEC really got their work cut out for them, considering the XRP army and the Twitter sleuths out there continually finding more damning evidence to just roast them. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Mr. Hubert just posted this. A study by Emory University found that SEC employees sell assets in their personal portfolios that come under investigation by the agency before an investigation becomes public. So they are accused now of insider trading. Does the SEC force its employees to insider trade? Down here, Mr. Hubert highlights this point, but they were better at selling them. According to the study, the stock sales allowed SEC employees to systematically dodge the revelation of bad news in the future. This fact pattern is consistent with the greater informational advantage related to potential enforcement activities that employees of a regulator are likely to enjoy over other market participants. We also heard something similar for the Ripple case, the fact that SEC employees were actually trading XRP in the years leading up to the SEC finally announcing that there was a lawsuit against Ripple. I'm just going to brush over this news. You guys have probably already heard. Sam Bankman-Fried also gets hit with 4 new criminal charges. To this point, though, the SEC trying to find a reason. And, Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX has been the example that, the U.S. government and regulators are trying to set to basically regulate by enforcement, regulate crypto into the Stone Age. So, we're seeing updates like this, and it sounds a little fishy to me. Gary Gensler has even come out and said because of the strong relationship between Sam Bankman-Fried and the government bodies, the red flags displayed by the trading platform went unnoticed. So, essentially saying, we did not do our due diligence because Sam Bankman-Fried was our chum and we were listening to him about regulation. And so, all those red flags went unnoticed. I think that is just shoddy work. In my opinion, it's really no excuse. And again, guys, if you want to read these articles, I will link them in the description. I just thought I'd bring them up to give you guys a little bit of context about how this is going. Now, I also saw this one: emojis count as financial advice and have legal consequences, a judge rules. So, in and amongst this, I know they're talking about a different case here, but it also reminded me of the Sam Bankman-Fried FTX situation where, they didn't actually have official documents. In some cases, they were communicating over messengers and using emojis to give answers about serious transactions, millions and millions of dollars. And so, rocket ship emoji means it could go up. Chart emoji, bags emoji objectively mean one thing: a financial return on investment. So, now a judge is saying, because we have a new breed of CEOs coming up now, ones that have grown up with iPhones, that, now we've got to take a look at how this communication is occurring. And so, a federal judge ruled that these emojis objectively mean one thing: a financial return on investment. Users of these emojis are hereby warned of the legal consequences of their use. So that has also now been stated officially. Molly Elmore here also, pointing this out with regards to the Ripple case. So just hear me out for a second. If Ripple were to win the case against the SEC, does this mean it's done? So, just going back to what we heard here, not there, where was it? It was here, in this clip here from Michael Birnbaum. We get a verdict. Does that mean it's done? She goes on to say, maybe, but the Howey case went 3 rounds before the SCROTUS ruling. In SEC versus Howey, which was 1946, Howey won the first case and the SEC appealed. Howey won again at the appellate level. The Supreme Court agreed to hear the case in spite of 2 lower courts ruling against the SEC. The Supreme Court reversed the decision and the Orange Grove contracts were deemed securities. So essentially saying, it could go up to higher courts. The court was not unanimous, and one of the justices who wrote a dissenting opinion was in favor of deferring to the lower courts, especially the district court, who had been the fact finder. Why did the Supreme Court take the case? Is there more to this story? Not rhetorical. I'm genuinely curious why this was pushed to SCROTUS after losing twice. I'm not suggesting that this exact pattern would happen regarding the SEC versus Ripple case, but this might be a situation we're in and it ain't over till it's over. So, interesting insight here. I mean, we have to kind of accept all possibilities at this stage, I think. I think we'll likely move towards more regulation slowly but surely. I mean, luckily, Ripple is in court right now. Us XRP hodlers waiting with bated breath. At least we will get some sort of verdict on XRP. We know, Stuart Alderati has said we are not settling unless the SEC agrees that XRP is not a security. So Ripple has some very firm terms there. So are we coming close, guys? This one from Ripple Crippler here on Twitter, going back to the Bearableguy riddle from just this past Christmas, December 24th, 2022. And we were looking at this, trying to uncover some of the clues. If you guys do not remember, Bearableguy also did right. To say 2022 was interesting would be an understatement. 2023 will bring to light the truth. So, likely going to get a verdict. And here's another interpretation, or at least adding to the riddle decoding. Ripple Crippler here saying they are playing for transparency. They want the emails public. Ripple's vision has always been all boats rise. They want competition. So, going back to what David Schwartz was saying the other day, his new Twitter banner. And I did a video on this the other day. I'll link it up here in the top right-hand corner. When a scrappy financial startup takes on a web of corruption and betrayal to bring instant payments to the masses, they learn that the cost of disrupting the status quo is higher than they could have ever imagined, forcing them to decide between their vision and their survival. Ripple is in, an interesting spot right now. However, their main intention was always to see all boats rising. They want competition because this would create for a better, healthier crypto environment. The big guy has rung the bell. XRP is needed now. Forced hand settlement incoming, of course, not financial advice. So they're playing for transparency here. As you can see, the transparent books make a lot more sense now that David Schwartz changed his banner. All clues putting this together, making it seem more and more obvious to us how we could see this roll out. So wanted to thank Ripple Crippler here for posting that. And even Clive Thomas, an executive wealth manager, has revealed that the new financial system will be built on technologies like Ripple. He mentioned it here in this interview, courtesy of Versan Aljara. Listen to this.
The governments are anxious to try and keep control of their financial system, but they won't be able to stop these things existing. And I guess the aim of the government is to stop any competitor to the central bank digital currency occurring, but it doesn't mean to say that these things won't exist and that they won't have value. They will have value and they will exist. They probably just won't be used or necessarily be used in the same way that the central bank digital currency is used on a day-to-day basis. But it's entirely possible that many of these new digital currencies around the world will run on the technologies produced by companies like Ripple and others.
So as per Clive Thomas, he does in fact think that the new technologies that are coming down the pipe, the new technologies that the head of digital currencies at R3 have even predicted are going to make a splash, those technologies are going to run on Ripple.
By companies like Ripple and others.
He said it, not me. That's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.